Hey, everybody. It's time for another awkward conversation with Dan.
Hey.
I'm not going to sing to you this time.
Thank you.
Although I could. I
haven't heard you sing yet, Jake.
You don't want to.
Oh, okay. All right.
You really don't.
Bring Andrea in for that then.
Yeah. Yep. So today we're going to take a little bit of a break from our sermon series breakdowns, and we are going to go through, Dan is going to lead us through an awkward conversation about autism. Are you okay with me just saying?
Yeah, Autism Awareness Month is kind of what got me thinking about this next awkward conversation. So,
all right, and because I didn't say it at the beginning, this is the Becoming That One House podcast. I am your host, Jake. Although I don't know how much talking I'm going to do during this one. That's Dan over there. You know him from such conversations as A Conversation with Two Cripples and other ones. And that's Laura over there. She heads up the
Pathways.
Yeah, that's the word that escaped my brain. Doing a lot of good work to make our big scary building a lot more palatable for everyone. So without further ado, let's see. Let's see. It says icebreaker, Jake, and I do want to get an icebreaker just because, as Ben makes fun of, it endears us to our audiences. Let's go.
We didn't rehearse this. It usually seems like you guys rehearse the icebreakers.
Nah.
Yeah, Dan and I are at a severe disadvantage.
Because, and not to speak with too much hubris here, because we've been getting everybody's reaction to the new studio. What do you guys think of the new space? I know I don't know that you were ever down in the dungeon, but
I was.
I know you were, Dan.
Yeah, this is nice. This is looks like a lot of great effort has been.
You were actually the first person to record in here before it was finished.
Oh yeah, with Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. I love the colors and the lighting and what was that video you guys did, that funny one with Neil where you guys got locked in the dungeon office?
Oh, the Horizon
Awards. So
Awards.
ever since that, I've thought, do I want to go down there?
No, none of us do.
So that's another reason I like this space. You know, there's possible exits and everything else.
You guys have a lot of guitars on the wall and a banjo. You guys could probably have a full-on jamboree in here.
We do.
Thinking. Yeah,
really?
The sad thing is that it's so dry in this house that all of the guitars are developing cracks. Like,
that's terrible.
This one right here has a big crack up the center of the back of it. And I saw that one day. I was like, man, I'm glad I put a bunch of guitars in here that I don't care about.
Oh, okay.
Well, so they're more for show, actually.
They are for looks. I mean, you can play them, but they are primarily for looks.
A nice touch, for sure.
Yeah, looks cool. If we want to learn guitar, we could come in here and probably can't hurt them any more than they're being hurt, right?
I mean, you could. I don't see it happening, but you could. Anyway, as I said, our guest Laura is right over there. Dan, oh boy. Oh, that's right. You heard me say that, didn't you?
I do listen to the podcast.
You do that when you preach, though. You do this.
I'm doing it right now.
Anyway, I'm going to toss it to Dan because
the ice is sufficiently broken.
Yep.
All right.
We're falling through.
We're falling. Oh, the ship's already going down. All right. Well, Jake, I do appreciate the opportunity to take over your podcast and have these awkward conversations. It's just a great chance and a great format to talk about things we normally don't get to talk about. Last summer we used a couple Sundays to bring up some awkward topics, and I think this is a great way to just keep those conversations moving and keep these topics on people's minds, because they don't get any less awkward if we only talk about them once every now and then, So now I wanted to explain really quick. By awkward conversations, I don't mean that the topic is somehow bad or awkward.
good point. It's not a negative.
It's not a negative. I'm mainly talking about me being awkward. or
Dan,
just
you don't have to have a conversation to do that.
right, right. I know. So the topic's not bad. We're gonna talk a little bit about autism. Autism Awareness Month is April. So the topic's not bad, but it is unfamiliar to a lot of us. Or in all honesty, some topics could be awkward because we just don't have good answers to the awkward questions, or we just don't have enough information. That's where I find myself concerning a lot of these topics, is I'm unable to have a helpful conversation, and then I make the conversation awkward because I don't have enough information. So that's why I like to invite people to Jake's podcast. I almost said my podcast, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I like to invite people to the podcast that do have this in their experience, or they have more knowledge or information on the topic. So we can just listen and learn from each other. So, and again, the goal is just to get the conversation out in the open. Because usually when one person starts talking about it, other people jump in, right? A lot of times somebody doesn't want to be the first one to say something. And once the conversation's out in the open, then people jump in. And we've been seeing that around SCC. People have been jumping into the conversation. They've been jumping into action. There's stuff going on where, like, I don't even know that's going on. There was one thing a couple of us were talking about, and I thought, well, I'll send that idea to the tech team, and they were already working on it.
Oh, the closed caption.
I was gonna say that's the signing one. Yeah,
the closed captioning. I was like,
that's amazing.
It was like 7:30 at night, and I said to Paul, I go, I'm sure Jeff Van Sickle wants to hear from me right now, so I'm going to text him. And within minutes, Jeff's like, hey, we're already working on something. Again, no promises. I want to be careful that we're not making any promises here, but I love that people are aware. They're seeking out ways to meet needs to make this that one house. So
that's the heart of our people. Like once something's brought to our attention, I feel like people are really want to help and love and care for us.
Yes, and I love that. I love that because you guys mentioned this in the podcast too. I do want everybody to come to this church. That is my goal. That is my prayer is specifically that our church would be filled up. Yes, I want people to know Jesus, but I want people to come to our church
that aren't going to one now. Yeah, for sure.
Well, hey, come on over too, right?
Yeah, I mean, even if you want to come over from any of the other churches,
I want to make sure we're not turning people away because we can't accommodate their needs, or at least we don't know how to have a conversation about needs. So to that end, here we are. We're going to have an awkward conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about Autism Awareness Month, and Laura's here to be the knowledgeable one in this conversation. Laura, I guess I'd like you to just maybe start by sharing a little bit of your family's background and church experiences. And
yes, yeah, because we have an autistic son, right? Should probably start with that. So Ryan and I, we got married in college, wanted kids right away, but 7 years later, our son Caleb was born in utero. He was actually diagnosed with a brain variant, and we were told he had 65% chance of surviving to birth. So we didn't even know if if he was going to be born. And so he was born, and we found out pretty early on that he had a lot of severe sensory issues. Ryan would, as an infant, we put him in a bouncy seat, and it was one of those, it just come out with like the vibrate and the music and all the different features. And he would we'd have to put him in the bouncy seat, put it on vibrate. He would lift it up and down while it's vibrating and walk around the house. And that was the only way to calm Caleb down to be able to sleep. So we knew right away that he had, a lot of issues. And then he wasn't, by the time he was 2.5, and he wasn't speaking and just presenting more and more challenges. So at 2, I think we got him diagnosed. And then pursued treatment, and would drive across the state. We did a lot of things. Like when Ari was a baby, Caleb was almost 4, and Ryan and Caleb would drive over and stay with his sister in Detroit, because most of the therapy at that time was in Detroit. There was no insurance coverage here. We were paying for everything out of pocket. We, cashed in a 401k. I mean, we did a lot just to pay for his therapy at that time. So as far as a church environment, we went to a church that my family went to when Caleb was little, and it was great. I mean, we had like a 20s and 30s group and just really thrived and felt very supported. Around age 5 is when Caleb aged out of the child care during the service. And, really there weren't a lot of churches, small churches, that were offering anything. And it was kind of like, what are we going to do? One of us is going to have to stay home or sit. We started with one of us being out of the service, trying to keep him managed in a older classroom, and it just didn't work. And so my cousin said, she went to Frontline and she said, we have a whole program because the pastor's son has autism. So if you come here, her daughter could watch, actually Jenna could watch Caleb and be his buddy. And so we did that for quite a few years, where Caleb went to the children's church and had a buddy with him, and his peer, who was the pastor's son, same age, also autistic, but more higher functioning, could talk and everything. He also had a buddy. So we had 2 buddies, but it's a large church, and so they could accommodate that. So that worked really well. Caleb was probably like 5th grade, 6th grade, and he started to not want to go to church and was getting really, really upset. So we figured out he'd had a couple different buddies by that time, just because these girls would, graduate and go to college or whatever. And so his current buddy was real young and timid, and she wasn't aware. We started observing and sitting with him and realized that some of these older boys were actually mocking Caleb, and he's very discerning. He can hear really well, and you know what I mean? And so he was being bullied and mocked and teased, you know what I mean? And we didn't even realize it. And so Ryan and I started being his buddy, and even then we found we couldn't advocate well enough for him. And it had gotten to be such a negative space for him by then. We just said, you know what, we've got to figure something else out. And at that time we had moved to Sparta a couple years earlier anyway. And because of how much we do in church, it was like quite a drive from our house to Frontline, which we love Frontline. But so we just were like, you know what, let's try to find something local. We went to Sparta Church of the Nazarene. I did, by myself. And the first day, and I met the volunteer children's director, and she was amazing. And she was like, why don't you come during the week, and you can give Caleb a tour. So we did. Caleb came with me on a weekday, and I took a bunch of pictures of the children's area and made like what they call a social story for him, which was like, okay, here's Caleb's on Sunday morning. What's going to happen, right? Caleb's going to go with mom to the children's area, and then we're going to find the spot. So we did the social story. He was excited. They had a church library. They had some Veggie Tales. And so he just thought, this is the coolest place. And so we started bringing him, and Ryan and I took turns being his buddy at first. And we found like a little corner area where we could do some little activities with him, but he was still sort of present. You know what I mean? But he wasn't he wasn't able to be involved in the lessons, but that the group did. But he was present in the ministry. And then the director and some of the volunteers became his buddies. So we had like 3 to 4 people. And so most Sundays for a number of years, middle school and part of high school, Caleb had a buddy, and Ryan and I were able to go to the service, which was just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So a couple of things that stood out to me as you were talking was you said the youth director met you during the week and gave you a tour. I mean, that's
the children's ministry. Yeah. Yep. Yes.
That's like some notes for the Pathways team right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's
exactly.
what a great idea. That's,
exactly.
Again, that's the kind of stuff that, I probably would never think of. My kids would just dump them and run, right? But to be thinking ahead like that, but also for us to be thinking ahead on behalf of other people, to have something that, this is
Yes.
this is the kind of stuff that's awesome to even for me to become aware of.
Yep.
And then the other thing you talked about, Caleb being able to be present. Like he couldn't exactly like participate in the lesson, but
Yeah.
he was, by present you mean he was in the room,
like physically in the ministry area.
Okay,
Yep.
not like put in a small room
Right, right.
off to the side, right? Okay.
Yeah,
And
I mean, yeah, somewhat. I would say at some point it was too much for him, like if they're doing singing or a video, where we had like a fairly secluded area, but it was still like it was to meet the safety requirements, right? There was visibility, and it's open enough that it was still part of the area.
Okay. But I like that idea of him being able to be present with the rest of the group. And
Yeah,
did you notice was that part of what had a positive impact on him, at least initially?
I think it depends on the severity of the disability. For kids that are able to do more excuse me, socially, I think that the benefit of being part of the group in some way is very helpful. For someone as severe as Caleb, his main benefit is his connection with that buddy that he's sitting with. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Okay.
So that for him was his buddies meant a lot to him, and they did like 3D. I had a packet right for every week, so he would paste some verses together, do a couple worksheets, and then they would do the reward was like to do a 3D puzzle. There's so many cool ones out there, right? Like the Eiffel Tower or whatever. So they would do a 3D puzzle each week with him. So
that's cool. Yeah. That is cool. So I always like to ask, I think I've asked this each time, what's it like coming to church for the first time with a child with special needs? And I ask that because it's for me, it's like hard enough to go to a new church or to a new place or whatever. It's hard enough without any extra concerns. It's to meet new people, to come in and just to have that experience.
Yeah.
I remember when I wasn't looking for a new church, but I was sitting home pouting, but Lisa was looking for a new church for us, and she went to a big one, and she said it was like very much like going into a shopping mall, and it was just like overwhelming, and people were like unhelpful, and so then you have that in the back of your mind, but then for someone with special needs, there's like just all the more on their mind. So
yeah.
Maybe comment on that. What is it like at church in general, but maybe even SCC specific? What was it like that first time coming in?
Yeah. So for me, I usually don't go. I usually scope it out first without my special needs child. Like, you know what I mean? So I would say that I can tell you what I'd look for, but it's mostly like if my kid is in the age of the children's area, that's where I'm going to go first. I'm going to say, how is this area set up? Do you what kind of staff do you have? Is there an area that he could go or she could go to be quiet? Do you ever have enough staff to have someone that's more of a buddy for my child? Those would be some of the questions that I'd have just going in. And then I would look at the common areas. Okay, if I do bring him, how busy does it get? What's our best entrance exit? You know what I mean? Like just some of those, like I think Jake, you've shared with, your mom, like thinking about some of the logistics of it. And then like in the common areas, like just looking for where people are to try to keep it as quiet as possible. What are spots that is there an area available if he needs to get energy out? Like a playroom, an open classroom, those types of things are really helpful to know, because like anytime we've gone to a church for a special service, whether it's a funeral or even like on a Sunday, if it's recognizing someone in our family, right, they're graduating or whatever. So if we've had to take Caleb in the past to a different church, that's been really helpful. It's like, well, we have this other playroom that doesn't get used at this time. Perfect. Is it somewhere quiet, somewhere we know if he can't handle being in the main area, we can escape to that and it's away from everybody, and there's not a lot of noise. We know he can bang on stuff and no one's going to get upset. That has been helpful to us too.
Okay. So. Right. Well, and that's okay. So we're talking about Autism Awareness Month, and those are definitely things that the church or we need to be aware of on behalf of other people.
Right. Yeah.
Like almost like let's figure out a way to. I forget which book it was because I read so many last year, listened to so many podcasts. But somebody was talking about basic stuff like signage, like don't make people ask where the restrooms are, right?
Oh, right.
So
yes.
so there's like proactive stuff we could do,
Yeah.
where it's like let's not make people ask for some of this stuff,
Right.
Like, you know.
Yeah. I think it's for us. It would be like being able to visit at a time where it's not busy. You know what I mean?
Right.
With our child too. So like for SEC, when we started coming, I took Caleb, like I think during the day, or somebody met me here, I'm sure. And I wanted to show him, this is our new church. This is the gym. You know what I mean? These are some of the cool things, right? And he hasn't ever been able to come to a service, but he helped with like spring cleaning day. He's been at Hygiene Pantry a couple times. The other thing I should say is when we were at the NAS, when he got older, he kind of got upper high school. He kind of got bored of the buddy system deal, and he started just running around church and being pretty disruptive. So we couldn't take him on Sunday mornings anymore. So we had a few years where Ryan and I literally every Sunday, it would be like, oh, it's Ryan's turn to be home because Laura's here, kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we did do then is on Wednesday night, when some other people were going to be there, but not everybody, I would take him and we'd go to the library. No one was in there. He loved that spot. And he would do a little lesson in there, say hi to a couple people. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think offering like a few options. If your child can be with us, great. If you just want them to feel like this is their church in some way, let's talk about it. Let's figure out a way as an adult even, right? Like, is there a way that we can welcome them into our space? Maybe it's with their caregiver, but so that they can interact with some of our people and feel the love of Jesus.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's. So what are some of the things that the church needs to be aware of? Like what's helpful awareness?
Let me think. I think like to. First of all, to say like, if we're talking about autism, it's a really broad category. It's kind of like caregiver. It can mean so many things. You can have so many different contexts. So I think it can be from never being able to care for your basic needs to like thinking a little bit differently, not quite like a neurotypical person, but someone might say, oh, that's a little bit odd behavior, but it's just simply a different way of thinking. So it can range all the way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that when we say autism awareness, that's kind of hard. But I would say that it starts with noticing. And it's interesting because I was thinking about these questions today, Dan, and I was like, for some reason, noticing was in my head. And I have this book about spiritual conversations, which is really good, The 9 Arts of Spiritual Conversations. And the way that they approach people that are unbelievers is similar to how I would consider approaching just people that are different than me. And they have like a pathway that says, the art of noticing is first. You notice someone and you start praying for them. Then you listen to them. And then you start asking questions. And so I think that's a great way to think about this with autistic and other families with disabled people, is that if you first start noticing them and then ask God, like, Lord, I see this person is different in these ways. Like, how can I approach them? Let me, you know what I mean? I want to pray for them, lift them up to you. And then start interacting with them and say hello, introduce yourself. Think about a question that might help you understand a little bit more of their situation. That's how I would start it.
What were the three things? There was
noticing, praying, and listening.
Okay. I like that. Noticing, praying, and listening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the thing, I found a quote in there that I really liked, and she says, noticing is not another thing to put on your already full to-do list. It's a way of living that causes regular intersection with God's activity in the routines of your ordinary life. So noticing other people and how they're different from us, whether it's because they don't know Jesus or because they have something in how their body is physically, mentally that's different, that's a struggle for them, that's all part of becoming more like Christ, right?
Mm-hmm. And I guess that kind of leads into the next half of this question. What is unhelpful awareness? I mean, what is unhelpful?
Right.
What is
right.
awkward noticing? Right.
Right. Yeah.
Like, because we don't want everybody just we got to be a little careful with this.
Right.
So,
Right. Yes.
so,
yeah.
maybe-
Quietly noticing. Yeah. I would say I've seen two extremes kind of surface, and I would say one is. This one's been recent. It's really interesting, but acting as though someone is fully experiencing life as different when they're actually suffering tremendously. So if you look at my son, Caleb, and he's not verbal and he's got a whole lot happening in his body that's uncomfortable to him, and you go, I'm so excited that God created you different. And he's thinking, I can't be known by anyone. I can't speak. I can, give you a couple of words on it. How can you celebrate my struggle in a way that makes me, you know what I mean? Like that it's demeaning.
Is this kind of like, don't act like it's okay?
Well, yeah.
or maybe that's the wrong word.
I guess. So what I'm saying is that's one extreme. And then the other extreme is that thinking like someone who experiences life differently, needs to be fixed when they have enjoyed their uniqueness or have come to accept and embrace it, the differences in their lives is something that God has planned for them. And I think about that, Jake, with what you shared with your story. And that's just so beautiful that you have come to this place. You know what I mean? Of saying this is part of who I am and it's my testimony. And so I think those are the two extremes of seeing someone that literally can't actually care for themselves and be independent in almost any way and saying like, this is wonderful versus, saying somebody that has some struggles, but they've said, this is how I am. And I want to live into it, for the glory of God, and saying you need to be fixed. Right. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. Jake, any thoughts on what we've talked about so far? Put you on the spot.
A couple of things. I can't imagine what it would be like to live an existence where everything is happening inside of you that you, one, can't understand, but then also two, can't communicate it. Mm-hmm. How like very, we talked the last month or last series about, what does it actually look like? Do we say, Jake, you're going to be fixed when you get to heaven, like you said? I don't like that, but I can imagine if in that existence that could be some sort of, that could offer some, a comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. We gotta be careful with the things that we're unintentionally saying when we say stuff like,
right.
Like on either one of those extremes, there's a lot of unintended, the person may have good intentions with what they're saying, but it also, the unintended things they say are probably very unhelpful. So, but I think that's also where like listening comes in, right? Like listening and actually hearing the story, hearing what the individual wants or needs, or
I also think it speaks to how personal a God that we have, because whatever that thing is, he will be that for that person.
Yes. So good.
In the ultimate sort of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes. That's a great point. Yeah, Caleb has spelled out like Jesus is my best friend, so.
That's fantastic.
Yes, yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So kind of next question here, when you hear words like acceptance or everyone welcome or we want to be inclusive, what are you hearing as a family with someone with special needs? What are you hearing? What are some tangible kind of benchmarks, or hallmarks of actual acceptance and inclusion? Because there's limits,
right? For sure. Yes, yeah, and I think I like this language as it relates to disability, but I think what's missing in it is the personal sacrifice on the part of the acceptor or the includer, right? I think we think that it's going to be just slightly inconvenient to accept or include someone where actually it might be like significantly, could be sacrificial, right?
Could be very disruptive.
Yeah, exactly.
the normal course of what you're
Right.
expecting.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And there are times where we have to think like our friends when we have had over the years different times where it's been more or less difficult to go somewhere with other friends. And one of our friends that's just done an amazing job, like we would go to the beach and they would just have no agenda and they would tell their kids ahead of time, like, we're going, with Ryan and Laura and your friends, because they would be friends of our boys. But they would say, we're here. Whatever Caleb needs, we're all this, there are times where Caleb doesn't go. But Caleb's going this time, and so whatever he needs, like if we're done in this area and we're moving to somewhere else, no one's complaining because it's not a me first moment, And so I think that is a great way for parents to model to their kids too. Like, let's hang out, let's have these people over,
Mm-hmm.
And I know Jason and Kelly did that with us when they came over and with Lawson, and it was like they were just go with the flow. Whatever you guys need, let's do it so we can be together,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Well, what are some positive changes in the church that you've seen between now and when Caleb was younger?
I think, and can I jump back? I
Sure.
forgot to mention on the helpful, because I want to give some positive examples with this prayer and noticing prayer and listening. And I think like Betty Roscoff has done a great job with that for us, of someone who has like noticed us and encouraged and supported us and said like, you guys are doing a great job in our parenting, and just, really, really validating. And so I just really appreciate that. I think the more we can just provide support without like suggestions can be helpful, for our parents. So I forgot to mention that earlier. So sorry.
Right. Support without suggestions. Right.
Yeah, I think, because suggestions can be helpful, but oftentimes the special needs parent is overwhelmed by suggestions from every direction. And so just to have someone, the believing community, come alongside and say like, you know what, if you need ideas, we're here for you, but really we just want to like encourage you and help you, we've had times where I was like, I can't get back in the car with the kids right now, but Caleb really needs his Doritos. And one of our friends just brought him over. You know what I mean? Like, It can be as simple as something like that. Just text me if there's something you need, and if they have little kids and you can't get out of the house, or it would be easier if I dropped something off, something small. There's just lots of different ways to help that, are like support versus suggest. Yep.
Right. Now, specifically in like church context, can there be like, can people be over enthusiastic trying to help? Like, is there like unhelpful help where it's like, hey, we got all this stuff for you, and or is that where maybe that's where listening comes in, right? And discerning the actual needs of the individual, because I think sometimes like our good intentions, we can get carried away.
We can, yes, for sure. Yeah, just genuinely loving people and not realizing that it's getting carried away. Yeah, I don't know about as a church as a whole, but I would say, I think Ryan mentioned this last year, but like when you meet someone or interact, just like a welcome and hello, you know what I mean? For the actual special need, the autistic person themselves is a great way to start without launching into any sort of conversation, unless they're seeking it out, because we don't know there's so much going on,
Mm-hmm. And when I remember Ryan talking about that a little bit, and that was kind of eye-opening for me too. Again, having very little experience, I always kind of look to the parent or the caretaker and be like,
right.
What do I do here? And again, that's just me being awkward. That's not them. but honestly, it's helpful to hear that it's okay to say hello to somebody, just like it's okay, with or without special needs, it's okay to say hello to somebody.
Yeah, and even having like a child like that for 20 years. I mean, if I know someone that came recently in a wheelchair and has other cognitive disabilities, and I had to remind myself, okay, just say hello to this person. You know what I mean? Tell them you're glad that he's here. And then you can move on and give space and just assess the situation. If you see their caregiver, and if I saw her and I wanted to ask her, I could ask her, like, is there anything more I can do to support, the person that you brought, right?
Right. All right. So
yeah,
so what are some positive changes, in the church that you've seen between now and when Caleb was younger? Have things changed? Have things,
I think on the children aspect, that churches have become much more aware of disabilities. I think that, and the need to support the kids and the family. I mean, it's so much more out in the media. I think that church families are more aware of how to support people with prayer and encouragement. Things like what you're doing here. I think these are much more common than they used to be. So I think from the children perspective in the families, I think that I've seen a dramatic increase in support overall at the bigger church you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For adults, I don't know. I was thinking about this today. For adult special needs, folks, has support from the church increased or has it actually decreased? I went to a funeral a few weeks ago for my aunt. And it was just beautiful. She went to a small Reformed church in Muskegon. And, she was very involved in the special needs care that they did for just a few people that were from a foster home that they brought to church on Sundays. And my aunt herself didn't even drive. She had other challenges herself. But she, at her funeral, I don't want to get emotional, but at her funeral, someone from the home brought these two folks, and this one gentleman, he was blind and he had a hard time talking, but he was just so sweet and genuine, talking about how she, would loved him at church. She would come to lunch with them. And I just thought that is such a beautiful testimony to my Aunt Karen's life,
Mm-hmm.
and to the way that she cared for others. And I didn't even realize that she was involved in this ministry. And so I think that's a question I have. I don't know, how many churches have a something for special needs adults and reach out to foster homes. And, growing up I remember I went to a storefront mission church we served there, and we had a bus that came from a adult foster home. Okay. But I don't know. From the adult perspective, I almost wonder if it's a bit less served than it used to be.
Well, and adult special needs is kind of new ground for you too.
Right, that's true.
It's just becoming an adult.
Right, exactly.
Right? And
yes, yep.
So that's new territory. So I hear you.
Yep.
I hear you, and I think the thing to bring up here is that just the statistics for special needs. I mean, we're talking 1/8 of the population that has, and that's not including moderate cases or this sort of thing. And so we're talking about a lot of people.
Yeah.
And those are just the people with the special needs, because then you add in their family and caretakers, and you have a lot more people. So this mission field is absolutely enormous.
Yes,
so when we say we want to be that one house, we kind of have to think about
what does that look like?
What does that look like, and do we mean it, and how much? And somebody asked me after one of my talks last summer. He said, "What if they show up?" That apply that to any group of people, any people that we are inviting here. What if that group shows up? And I think that's a good guide. That's a question. I know maybe haunting isn't the right word, but it's been in the forefront of my thoughts. Just what if they show up, and is our invite honest, right? If we say you're welcome and we want to accept you, include you, is our invite honest? We kind of joked about that a little bit, talking about curbs and stuff. Hey, you're welcome, but you can't get over the curb. But that's a you problem, Jake. That's not.
You're
everybody.
welcome, just not in the office doors between the months of February and April.
All right. You're gonna get the property team mad at me again, don't you? But
to their credit, it is March, and all that ice is gone.
It's gone.
There
the
you
ice
go.
is gone. But yeah, our invite has to be honest. So Laura, I'm gonna ask you to fill in a blank here for me.
Okay.
And Jake, you could do this too, but it can't be about curbs.
Okay. About stairs.
Or stairs or anything else. Maybe Jake, you just sit this one.
I don't think I took any notes for this question either. So
okay. Well, this is just a simple fill in the blank. If the church would just.
Oh, wow. That's a hard one. I think because we're talking about the I think it would just have more conversations like this that actually turn into noticing people in our lives, whether it's at church or other places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And praying for them. Amanda Thomas and I were talking about this on Sunday because she asked me how Caleb was doing because he's actually had some struggles, pretty significant recently, and she was praying for us, and I said that is actually the biggest gift you can give, and she said I know, because she does know, and so you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I think that talking about it in a supportive way and praying for it specifically for the people. I think if the church would just pray more intentionally in general and for the specific community of people, I think that would be huge.
Yeah. I like that. Jake, what do you think?
I'm trying to figure out how to word it without insulting people.
Oh boy. Well, you can't edit.
You can
this.
insult Dan and I. Is that?
I think so. We exist in a church that's been here for 165 years. Are we at that point?
I think we might be past that. That's a Larry Carter question.
Larry, I know you're not listening or watching.
Should we call him, get him on here live? Just zoom him in.
I mean, I can. We're a church that's existed here for over a century. Most of our members, I think, are members that have gone here their entire lives, or most of it, right? So I think it's hard sometimes to really listen to new outliers that come in and have valid concerns. So I think if we're more intentional about listening to those outliers, and if we say we're going to listen to, we're actually going to listen. We're not going to, we'll listen, but in the back of our minds are throwing it out because, that can't happen.
Well, speak for yourself. You've been here a good 20 years, right? How do you take it when an outlier comes in and says, hey,
I mean, it depends on what they say. It
maybe,
depends on
maybe
what
how they say it.
It depends on, that too. But I also think that, and this is not specific to our church, I just, groups that I have been a part of, there is a lot of decision making that happens with the best of intentions without the input of people that it's affecting.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you decide, just in the context of a conversation that we're have worked through over the past year, if you decide to put in an elevator, but don't talk about what an elevator looks like or what an elevator should be to the people that would be using that elevator, if that makes it helpful for them or not helpful for them, is it actually being helpful?
Right.
Is it actually being considerate? If you talk about we're going to do this big change for this group of people, but then don't include the group of people in the conversation, what good is it actually doing?
One of the motto for the Americans with Disabilities movement in the early 90s was nothing about us without us.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah. I mean,
I love that.
But and it's learning how to listen, learning how to ask awkward questions, learning how to hear each other well, and also navigating the limits. And we've here at our church, we've definitely bumped up against limits, and we've had to just kind of deal with limitations, together.
Right. Right.
So,
yes. Well, and I think being welcoming for new people is important. I think it's also looking at our existing folks and saying, because that's what happened to us. Like I told you guys with our story, is there was no other option. So we had to, say, are we never going to attend as a family again? Or, you know what I mean? Are we going to have to relocate because the church can't serve us? So I think that would be the priority, which just sounds like, Jake, what you're talking about, is listening to our people that are here and saying, are there things that we're missing, you know what I mean, that we're not serving you guys well, that would actually end up, you'd have to find somewhere that could, when we could have So
See, and that part you said, like, just even considering, like, maybe church isn't going to work for us as a family.
right.
Like, that bugs me. And I think that should bug a lot more people.
But what's interesting though is, you said it a little bit earlier. We have to be okay with the fact that someone decides X, Y, or Z. Isn't part of being that one house also maybe being okay with the fact that they do decide that this church isn't for them?
Right.
And like, what do we
That's
do
true,
with
too.
that?
Yes,
Like, we can't.
Right.
We can't put that kind of pressure on people to
Right.
stay here. It's
Right.
kind of antithetical to what we're trying to do.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, if they come
we
and
can't
want to stay and ask us to make changes, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where, our leadership is so compassionate, so
Mm-hmm.
that's where they would, I think, listen and do what we can. But like Jake, you're saying, if there's things we can't do, we have to accept that then they have
Mm-hmm.
to find a fit for them.
We can't be all things to all people.
Right.
And that I don't like that, but that's fact of the matter. but I think we do what we can, and then we have good answers for the rest of it, right? We have good
Right.
conversations, and I don't want the answer to be, we didn't even think of that, right?
Right, exactly.
That's
Yes.
that somebody's
Yes.
not coming to church because we overlooked
Right.
something that we could have maybe easily figured out.
That's a great point.
So-
Yeah.
So
So we exhaust our options and then we go, okay, well, Lord, providentially, you got a different plan then,
Yep.
I guess.
I mean, well, we know the limits when we hit them. So
Yep.
when the property team is driving by throwing rocks at my house, we've probably hit a limit.
I should probably tell Brent to stop doing
Yeah,
that.
Brand, stop that. But there's probably some limit that they need to let me know about. Now, quit harping. Anyway, let's take a break here because
All right.
I like to talk about sports too.
Oh, I'm sure
Oh,
you do.
my.
I
Okay.
do. We always got to have a sports segment. And also, I like to take a break in these awkward conversations because I want to make sure everybody understands that we or you specifically, Laura, we're not necessarily like defined by just this topic. Like,
For sure.
there's a whole bunch more to all of us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big sports guy. I like to bring it up every chance I get. And you're a hockey mom, right?
There you go.
You have a son who plays hockey,
Yes,
and
too, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and how's that going for him? He's like
Good.
on Sparta's team this
Actually,
year.
he
right?
has a tryout tonight for Team Michigan, so
Team Michigan.
yeah,
Is
go
that?
Ari.
Okay, that's exciting. That's exciting. So my
Is that a college team?
No, it's the state puts together a team of high school players. Usually it's just a senior team and a junior team, but they've opened up to a freshman sophomore team this year, and then they play in Minnesota against other states.
wow.
I was like, no way that
That's
kid's
cool.
in college.
Yeah,
already.
no, he's 16. Yeah.
So my big question for high school hockey is: are the kids allowed to fight like the pros?
No. It's always about the fighting, Dan.
Well,
isn't it?
I mean that's the most.
They just have to
interesting-
keep in mind that their parents are watching and present.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
I know they do
yeah.
other stuff in hockey, but that's the part that catches my attention.
Yeah, no,
most.
they're not. If they throw a punch, they're thrown out.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. But it is entertaining.
It is. It is. Now, being a hockey mom, have you ever gotten a fight in the bleachers with another parent?
Actually, no.
No, actually, like, but it's an option, right? You made it sound like that's not like completely off the table. Like you might need to do that.
No. The one thing that I have done is we've had the other team's parents. Like if somebody gets extreme about their obscenities and they're just really going nuts, but the ref has not thrown them out, the parent on the other team. I did one time take my phone out and start videoing that person, and they did stop.
Oh wow.
So, but it's not a normal thing.
So
Brian would not let me normally do that.
So the refs actually ref the parents too.
They
Oh, wow.
they can. Yeah, they will throw them out
That's
if they
cool.
get crazy.
I like that. So you've never had to like pull up some other mom's jersey up over their head and just kind of nothing like that. No.
Thank goodness, no.
I was hoping this conversation would be a little more exciting.
Sorry.
than that, but it's a little
I
bit-
will say that one entertaining thing that the Ari especially does is called reversing, and it's when a player's coming right at. Well, I won't even explain it right. I'm sure, but a player's coming right at you, and they think you're standing still, and you actually start coming faster toward them
Oh.
because you know they're going to hit you, and they go flying backwards.
Oh, wow.
And it's allowed. So
It's allowed?
oh yeah, but it's very embarrassing to the person that it happens to,
right.
obviously. But
And Ari's
yeah.
pretty good at that?
He is, yeah.
That's cool.
And but the bad part about that then is that person then sometimes becomes vindictive for the rest of the game. So I'm like, I don't like that because they're going to try to hurt you.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
but yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, if he starts reversing people, it's usually a conversation he and Clive have later. Did you see that? You know,
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, also, so Laura, you're one of our engagement hour teachers. You want to take a minute and talk about engagement hour?
Well, yes, Dan. It's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah. What are you up to in there?
Yeah,
these
we're
days?
studying.
Since you guys voted me off the island. That's what I told Tim's
yeah.
class. They're like, "What are you doing down here?"
Oh,
I'm like,
that's
"Well,
right.
They voted me off the island like Survivor."
We just wanted you to truly be able to take a rest, right, and not worry.
I appreciate the being
Good.
able to take some time off from it for sure.
Good.
So
It's like a vacation down there, right?
it is.
There you
I
go.
can just sit there. I don't have to answer the hard questions. So,
Yeah, we've had some
That's
hard
good.
ones come
That's
up
good.
so far because we're studying Hebrews, so it's intense. Michael will say it's an intense book,
yeah.
but yeah, Jesus in Hebrews, it's been going pretty awesome. So we're enjoying it.
That's
But we
cool.
do miss you.
Well,
But we're glad
I'll
you're
be back eventually.
resting.
So
Get a tan down there, okay?
get a tan.
Yeah.
Don't know that's gonna. We did
Yeah.
refer to that space as the dungeon, so I don't think a tan's
Yeah, I
gonna
don't think so
happen
much.
down
You got
there.
one of those lights.
No,
right?
no. Just specifically the studio down there.
Right.
Or,
Oh, right.
Oh, not
rather,
the-
what is now the storage? Because as you can tell, in this space,
There's no storage.
storage.
It's all looks. I'm loving it though.
All right. Well, back to the awkward part. We're gonna
Okay.
get really awkward here for a minute.
Oh man, all right.
So part of the awkwardness of the autism conversation is that some people, volunteers, teachers, caretakers, they've had a hard or negative experience with autism. You know, for example, like a kid in the classroom for a Sunday school teacher, and just something goes bad, teacher doesn't know what to do, or doesn't handle it properly or whatever.
Right,
But there's
right.
something happens that makes them feel nervous or uneasy or maybe even unsafe around
Sure.
special needs. So what advice would you give for navigating this discomfort? Maybe to the person who's just kind of leery, doesn't want to jump back in. Maybe somebody who's been a little hurt or a
Yeah.
little startled by an interaction.
Right. Yeah, I think first, kind of take a step back and allow the Holy Spirit to work in you to process it. So to think about like what actually happened and why did that happen, God? Why am I upset about it? What do you want me to see in this about myself, about the person involved, about how you want me to be? If you were there, Lord, in that situation, like, what would Jesus do? I don't mean that specifically, cliche, but I mean like, Jesus, you were present in that situation, but what did I miss? You know what I mean? What am I not seeing? Like 2 Corinthians 5 talks about we no longer see anyone from a worldly point of view. And once we saw Christ this way, and they're talking about becoming a believer and an ambassador for Christ. And they're talking about then seeing others as needing Jesus. And I think that we can think about that with people with struggles that we don't understand. All right. And we can put ourselves in their place for a moment and say, how does Jesus see them? I can't look at them from a worldly point of view. I have to look at them as my Savior does. And I have to see like what's a way that I can minister them. And then I would say like reach out to someone that knows this child or individual and can give you some insight into what happened, and why they might act that way. And then you can figure out, Lord, do you still call me to reach these people? And if you do, how can I treat this person, the situation differently to help them and make it better so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. So yeah, it's hard again too because it's unfamiliar, right?
For sure.
For some
Yes.
people, not
Yeah.
everyone, but for some people to have to figure out on the fly.
Right, on the fly is hard. That's
to-
what I'm saying. After it happens, then step back. Like,
Yeah,
don't react. Don't respond right away. I got to quick talk to mom. I got to, you know what I mean? We can't have this happen again. Like, you could talk to definitely the ministry leader. That's important, so they know all about it. But I would say in terms of like analyzing the situation and your thoughts going forward, I wouldn't just react, and I wouldn't just like stuff it and ignore it and do something different.
Right.
You know, I would say, what happened here, God? How can I learn from it?
Because that's also could be awkward too. You just mentioned kind of stuffing it and ignoring it. I guess we definitely would want, especially a volunteer here to speak up, right? Like
Right,
talk to
yes.
the ministry leader, talk to the parents.
Right.
Now, I mean, that's probably happened with you over
Yeah.
the years. You've
Oh,
probably
yeah.
had some teachers come to you and
Sure.
and
for
say,
sure.
hey,
Yes.
either we can't have this happen, or
Right.
how did that land with you? How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I've always found it to be very helpful because I need to know, what happened. So if he got upset and threw something or whatever, and then I could help. I could problem solve. Ryan and I are both kind of like that. Like, thankfully, where I'll say, okay, well, what can we do to help make this situation, not be a negative anymore.
Would you? I mean, you sound like you're open to the conversation. Do you think?
Yeah.
You think?
I think it depends on the parent situation. So yeah, you definitely would want to like talk to the ministry leader first and get some insight. How do we want to approach this with the parent? Right. So unless you know the parent well yourself, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I like some of the advice that you've given. We don't just want to ignore this and
right.
Yeah. But we also we need to be gentle, but also just kind of, I like the forward thinking part of it too. Is just like doing some kind of seeking the Lord after such an event and going,
Yes.
okay, what's the right reaction to this, and because some teachers they do have a valid concern or a hard experience that's real, and we definitely want to make sure that the volunteers and stuff are cared for too.
Yes.
That's hard part as
It
well.
It is. And yeah, and I think though I would say like personally, like I think some of the biggest factors in changing my thinking to become more like Christ is in these awkward and uncomfortable and offensive or upsetting moments when I force myself to reflect on them in some time with God. That's when my thinking starts to change.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfortable moment.
It is.
But I don't. That's where I say, thankfully, we're the body of Christ, right? We're not like out there as some nonprofit or social club that doesn't have this in common, and so we have the Holy Spirit in us, right? So that's the exciting part of it, I guess.
It is. All right. So we talked a little bit ago about just hitting some limits, So how does it sit with you when a church hits the limit, like those I'm sorry we can't help you situations?
Yeah.
have you encountered those?
Yeah, like I said, the church we were at when Caleb was young, I mean, they really truly couldn't serve us with the volunteers they had, and we had to make a decision. And that was hard because my family went there, So but I get that actually. Because programs aren't meant to be like the full measure of Christ, right? His disciples are. So I think at that moment, it's like a call for us personally to say, like, if the church and the programs can't meet it, but I know this person personally and they have a need, is this an opportunity for me, like personally, to help them? Right. So.
Yeah, I think trying to figure out how to make those limits into to an invitation, right? If the program doesn't work anymore, well,
right, exactly.
Figure out a new program.
Right.
I know it's not that simple. It's never that simple, but yeah, I don't want to be the reason somebody goes, yeah, church just isn't going to work for me.
Right.
I don't want
yes.
us to be the reason,
Right.
or at least I
mean,
want a good answer for it.
Yes, for sure. And there's so many God is so creative, right? I mean, there's so many creative solutions that he can give us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if we don't have something Sunday morning that works, but you want to go to the mom wants to go to the mom's Bible study on Monday nights, and there's somebody that can sit with her son in the common area with the door open and it works. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of ideas, right? So that someone can interact with SCC and learn about Christ and be surrounded by, other people.
Well,
right?
our God is a creator. I think we can be creative.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I think it's on both ends. Like we need to be creative, and
Right.
and hopefully we are the kind of people where someone with particular special needs feels safe and comfortable to speak up. Like,
Yes,
to
for
ask
sure.
for help.
Right,
And
yes.
I would invite people to ask for help.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
And
Yep.
and we'll figure it out. I probably get myself in more trouble this way, but I always like to say the answer is yes. Well, let's figure out the details.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great
And the
attitude.
details might indicate we should have said no, but we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out when we get there, right? So, but yeah, because like I mentioned earlier, I want everybody to come to church here. So
I know you do. Well, and so that's what I think we're talking about with creative. What does come to church mean? Certainly we would love to have them on a Sunday morning. If it's some other version, if it's a Wednesday night, if it's a study, I mean, let's start somewhere to support the family,
right. I like that. I like that. Okay, so let's talk about long-term change for a minute here. So it's easy to get motivated for a month or for a podcast, or I found myself in this very situation, and that's how this version of the podcast came up. It's like, okay, it's been a while since I talked about this, and it was exciting last summer, and I had a lot of great conversations. I engaged a lot of great resources,
Yeah.
but then it's like, now what? And it's like, what? And it was kind of cool starting to think about it again. I was especially encouraged to hear, what we talked about earlier, that other people are engaging this conversation and becoming aware of needs and just going after it. So that was encouraging. But again, it's easy to get motivated for a month or for a project or a podcast. But what does long-term actual acceptance, and awareness look like for us?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things, as a, like, so it sounds like what you're saying is if you feel called to kind of minister to this type of group of people, because we're talking about the baseline is, as a believing community, we want to notice people, and we want to notice when they're different, and we want to pray for them and listen to them in a general way while we interact with them in our church, right? But then there's a specific way where we say, you know what, I think, it could be anybody. It could be someone coming out of abuse you're called to, or, there's all sorts of situations, right? I mean, you've done prison fellowship, right? You've done a lot of different ministries over the years. So it's like, if this is a specific area I feel called to be involved more in, whether it's, helping our entire church, or it's being a buddy for someone or whatever. Lord, what is that? And then the opportunities don't come right away. What do you do is what it sounds like or come over time. What do you do? Right. Is that kind of part of the question? Yeah. Okay. So I think with those specific instances, it's like, Lord, can you put some people in my path and show me how to build a relationship with them? I really think, that we need some things definitely for programming in our church and for physical, the physical setup and making the environment more, welcoming and conducive. But also I think we need to acknowledge that this is similar to outreach and evangelism in that it's like a relationship like focus. It's an intentional, I'm going to partner put some people in my path, put a family or two in my path, and I'm going to partner with them, get to know them. We're going to meet at McDonald's, or we're going to go to the park, which can be way easier. And I want to understand them and have a relationship in a way that I can minister to them and I can understand how we can help more people. So I would say that is a specific thing to be praying for. And that's what I pray for when I have specific types of people that I think God is calling me to, is like, can Lord bring some opportunity? I need a couple relationships here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I like that. I like
yeah.
praying for the opportunity, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then being ready for if they show up, right?
Yes, yeah. And I mean,
So-
yeah, exactly. And in the meantime, like you've been doing, like not only talking with people, but like stewarding resources and saying like what scripturally is going to help me think about this in the right way. What are some resources, like the books you've been reading? I mean, that's fantastic. Gives you it kind of arms you to do the relationship well, to, you know what I mean? To be the support that you really can be, because you're much more informed.
Yeah. And I think that's important, and I guess that's what I would recommend to anyone, is like kind of do the work now, right? Like
Yes.
be plowing the field, so to speak, right now, getting the field ready for the seed.
Right.
And that could be doing a little study, doing a little research.
Exactly.
I can't believe the podcast I clicked on just because I was like, I need to know about this.
Uh-huh.
Talking about all kinds of just different, cognitive things, and there's books I never would have read. And it was, it was awesome. And so when the time comes to have the conversation, I feel a little less awkward.
For sure.
But it's like, I think the more work you do ahead of time, the more studying,
Yes.
It'll pay off eventually. I don't think God's going to waste any of our time.
He's not. No. Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool.
All right, so the big question. This is the one Jake always closes.
I don't have notes
the,
on the big question,
well,
do I?
Well, it's,
maybe I do.
And
Okay,
yeah, you should.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I do. Sorry.
It'll
Okay.
be easy.
The big question.
The big question. How can SCC become that one house for families impacted by autism, neurodivergence, or other special needs?
All right. So the big takeaway that I hope we all have is that this is not another thing to add to our to-do list. That noticing, praying for, and listening to people in need, including those with disabilities and their parents, that's who we want to be in Christ. So that's the way I think we can be with the one house, is noticing, praying, and listening to these families. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. So anything else you'd like to add?
I don't know. Jake, you got anything? We missed something?
I don't think so. I think I did it for Ryan. So I just want to thank you guys for being the advocate for your child that you are. I have a lot of friends in the disabled, in the people with disabilities community that did not have great advocates for parents, and it shows.
Well,
and you are a model for those people that do have children with disabilities.
Yeah, thank you. It continues too. It's a lifelong thing, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And what you show them, what you show those parents, pays dividends even if you don't see it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's encouraging. See, Jake's already returning it. He's already taken this input and encouraged me. So.
All right. All right, Jake, I'll give your podcast back.
See, I showed you who the host is.
Right, you're the host.
No.
It's yours.
Thank you, Dan, for bringing up the topic, too.
Glad
I have
to
to say, I really appreciate this leadership you're taking on with, because most people, if they don't have this personally in their family, right, Jake, they're kind of like, and go ahead, work on it, folks. You know what I mean?
It's a familiarity thing.
Oh, yeah.
And a cultural presumption, because I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but America has not been great about representing and treating people with disabilities of any kind of differences. And I think the more that we can do to bridge that gap as the church, the more we can become that one house for both of those groups of people that we're trying to bridge the gap for.
For sure.
Yep.
Awesome.
Other than that, I don't have anything else to say.
Well, I appreciate you letting us use your podcast for this.
Anytime, Dan. Anytime.
Well, I got ideas.
I'm trying to think of another awkward conversation you can have.
I'm open to ideas. Send Jake all your ideas for awkward conversations.
Oh, yes, please do. Actually, speaking of that.
Make them really awkward, too. So.
Really, really, really awkward.
Oh, you got your card.
Oh yeah,
Don't
a
forget
little
about the
card here, a little doohickey. Anyway, that's all these guys' thoughts on Autism Awareness Month. How the church can be a support for people with autism and their parents. If you have any questions for us, honestly, if it's about this podcast, you will not be best served by using this Connect card, but you can always ask us these questions. We'll make sure someone that can be of service to you gets to you. You can put your question on the back here. There's a spot for your name and contact information. You don't have to use that. If you submit questions to the podcast through this method, it's completely anonymous. We'll never use your name. Other than that,
That's
said
right.
Autism Awareness Month is
That's April. Yeah, that's April.
April, so this will probably go up the first Friday in April-ish. Yeah, first Friday in April. Happy April, everybody. Happy spring. We'll see you Sunday.